So I was out refueling the plane yesterday, and there were two other pilots out on the ramp, and both had to come over, take a look, and see the Cardinal, mention how nice it was, and one even said that he loves Cardinals. In this video, we'll go through the specifications of the plane, the exterior, interior, engine, and of course our signature flight portion, including a takeoff and a climb up to 10,000 feet. Now this plane is for sale. You'll find the details at the link that's in the description below if you're interested. Here's 11 reasons why this particular plane is a rare and desirable plane for most owners. Most owners would like to have the fact that it's a very low hour airplane. It actually has only 2,965 hours total time on it. It's a low hour engine with only 995 hours on it. It's got all logs since new, and that's actually, the logs are about 25% of the value of a plane. There's no damage history. It has a current extensive annual and its IFR current. During the annual last month, we even had them take off some of the top panels to check the condition of the spar. And those items aren't required in the annual, but we wanted to make sure that everything was good. It's a great looking plane with a nice newer paint scheme, and I've actually gotten many compliments on the plane from others. It has a beautiful clean interior with a nice clean updated seats, carpets, plastic, and a panel. And a clean interior and exterior tell a lot about how the previous owner has cared for the plane. It's a fully updated panel with a modern look and Garmin avionics. It has ADS-B out installed, so you can fly in any airspace in the US and use any airport without restrictions. We're even going to include an ADS-B in receiver, so you'll have free weather and traffic in flight as well. It flies really nice. How a plane flies tell a lot about the plane. And this plane just flew a 1,700 mile cross country up and over the peaks of the Rocky Mountains, and that was just a few weeks ago. And then just yesterday, we actually took the plane up to 10,000 feet. It starts right up and it flies really well. It's a later model Cardinal 2 with the upgraded package that has all the factory upgrades that make the Cardinal an even better and faster plane. So when it's brand new, the later model Cessna Cardinals were actually almost twice as expensive as compared to the earlier models. And it's honestly hard to find all of these items in a single plane unless you buy a very expensive newer plane. The Cessna Cardinal has very good performance for a 180 horsepower fixed gear airplane. It has a spacious cabin to easily and comfortably fit 4 people. The plane can climb up to 14,600 feet. And this plane has extended range 61-gallon fuel tanks, so you can go 840 miles. And the economy settings, it only burns 7 to 8 gallons per hour at cruise. It can take off and land on a short runway, and it has decent climb performance. Now in 1975, they put a new prop design on the Cessna Cardinal, and that allowed for a higher continuous RPM of up to 2,700. And that meant that 75% horsepower could actually be carried all the way up to 10,000 feet for a higher cruise speed at that altitude. So when we took the plane out yesterday, we went up to 10,000 feet, but because of the higher temperatures that day, the density altitude was over 11,500 feet, and so then the prop could still operate at 2,700 RPM and was putting out 69% horsepower. It had very close performance to the POH numbers. Talking about the POH, it actually comes with a more detailed POH in these later models, and then Cessna also upgraded to a full-size panel that you're going to see inside from that earlier split panel design, which gives it a little bit more space for the upgrades in the panel. And now please take a time to watch my Cessna Cardinal, the full review video that I've got on YouTube. It's got over 44,000 views already, and you'll learn all about the Cardinal model. Thank you for watching our video. We always ask that you like our videos, subscribe to our channel, and of course any questions or comments, feel free to drop them down in the comment section below. We'll do our best to answer them. Now in the later years, Cessna did a number of improvements on the Cardinal. One of the things is this smoother bottom cowling you can see here. They actually said that having this smooth bottom part of it gives about 2 to 3 knot speed advantage on it. And then you can see here it's got the cover on the exhaust pipe, and another one of those speed mods is back here on the wheel pants. It's got these inner covers to help cover everything up and just give it a little bit more aerodynamics. Now looking at the paint, you can see there's a few chips minor things like that on the cowling, but other than that, just taking a look at this gorgeous three-tone paint, you've got a darker blue, a lighter blue on top of the white, and the design of it just flows really nicely and gives you a nice look and highlights the design of the Cardinals. And that painting actually goes out even into the wingtips. They followed that design through. We get these hard to find, very nice planes. If you're looking to buy one, the best is to sign up for our email notices on our website, and then that way you'll get an email from us before we advertise it anywhere. Design on the Cessna Cardinal with the cantilever wing is something that gives it unparalleled visibility. There's just no other plane that has the visibility that this one does between the wing design and the fact that there's no strut on there. It's actually one of the best planes out there for those scenic flights. If you see, there's actually photo windows installed on both of the rear windows so that you can open when you're in flight. It gives it a really nice photo platform. The tanks in this are 61-gallon upgraded extended range tanks that actually gives you a range of about 860 miles or so, and I just love that we can take these out and fly it for over 800 miles if you wanted to. You can see just how easy it is to get into this when the door is open. There's no strut or anything in the way. There's no wheel pants in the way. It's easy to slide up and into the front seat, and then you can slide yourself forward and get set up for the flight. Really simple there. And then, of course, if you've got passengers in the back with that seat forward, you can tilt it forward a little bit further, sit up into the back seat. Plenty of space, plenty of legroom, really comfortable for anybody. Taking a look at the engine on this Cessna Cardinal, it is a Lycoming 4-cylinder 0360 A1 F6D. It has actually only about 995 hours on it, and these engines will easily run up to 3,500 hours if you maintain them properly. When we purchased the plane, we had a pre-buy done. During the pre-buy, we had compression check, which was 75, 75, 77, and 71. And then we also did borescope on all the cylinders to check the valve conditions, both intake and exhaust, and also the condition of the pistons. You can take a look at it and see the condition of it overall, the hoses and the cables. All of these additional wires and things in here are for the primary engine monitor. The firewall is clean, and just overall a solid, smooth running engine. Take a look at the interior of this Cardinal. If you take a look at the plastics and the seats, you can tell that they've been redone recently, and one of the things I really like about the Cardinal is the space. So the seats on this one, when they were redone, they redid the foam on them so that they have this nice cushion to them for the back that makes them very comfortable for both the bottom and for the back. You've got headrests on the front, and then the back seats, even when you have this much, when you have it all the way back, which nobody's quite this tall, you still have leg room in the back, but if you pull this forward to where the average person would sit for their flight, you can see just how extensive the legroom is in the back there, and you can even fold the seat forward in order to get in and out of the back seat. When I was taking my parents on flights in our Cardinal B model, they absolutely loved it. It was so comfortable. They had plenty of space for their legs, very easy to get in and out of, so it's one of the highlighted features of a Cardinal, especially the B model. When you take a look at this particular one, just take a look at the plastic condition, the headliner. They've got the airline style vents up here and in the back. They've got an updated headliner. All of these plastics and things have been redone. It's got a 3-point harness system for the seat belts on the front, and the webbing has been redone recently for that as well. So just take a look all the way throughout on the plastics. And then both of the front seats are actually the multiple adjustment styles, so you can slide them back and forth. Obviously, you've got your up and down, and you've got your tilt. So on this one, you can see you can raise both of them. A lot of time the pilot seat on the left side does this, but both the pilot and the co-pilot have that option, as well as the tilt feature for the back seat, so that you can adjust it pretty much however you need it to be comfortable when you're in flight. If you take a look here, the carpet is newer. It's got a nice dark gray, and it's in really clean condition. The back seats here, we've got 4-place intercom system, so it's got the plug-ins in the back for the headset jacks. And then the back seat has this lever here which allows it to tilt so that you can get really nice and comfortable when you're in flight, relaxing in the back. And then you've got this little window here. So the Cardinal, with the visibility of what it is, not having the strut in the way, and then with having the wing being a little bit further back, it's one of the best photo platforms out there. But they went ahead and they added this little window in here that you can open, and it's on both sides. So then the people in the back, you actually can open this up and you can take really nice photos without having a glass in the way. So I thought that was a really nice little upgrade to this one. When we had the pre-buy done, we asked them to go in and check the Spar Condition, so they went through and pulled the panels and everything like that. But just to give you a brief look at what it looks like in here, I opened this small access panel back here, and if we go inside and take a look, you can see that it's been fully treated with the green corrosion resistant primer all the way throughout from left to right and on both sides as well. The panel on this Cardinal has actually been updated. You can take a look at it and see that it's got a nice modern style, a very clean design layout on it. It's really easy to read all of the gauges when you have a panel that's clean like this. And just about everything's been upgraded. So over here we've got our standard 6-pack that's right in front of the pilot. And then we've got 2 VOR CDIs, and they both have glide slope. One's the Garmin, one's the Bendix King. And then the center stack has all Garmin avionics except for the PMA 8000B audio panel, which is actually a better unit than the Garmin 340. It has much of the latest convenient features, such as connecting your phone for calls, and then being able to even listen to your music on it. The GPS in here is a Garmin 480 WAS GPS Navcom for your navigation with your instrument flights and such. It's just like a 430/530, but a different software interface. You can notice a little bit different in the buttons and such. The 330ES transponder is your ADS-B out requirement to fly into any airspace and any airport without restriction. You've got your SL30 secondary digital radio, and then that's Garmin. The Garmin 660 touchscreen GPS is down at the bottom here. And this has traffic, navigation, terrain, your obstacle can display, and everything in kind of the latest format, touchscreen, easy to access and easy to use. And you can even load up approaches and procedures to display on here as a nice little backup. It's actually got Garmin 3D Vision, which is really similar to the synthetic vision option, and has its own internal battery. So if you were to have any kind of master battery or power failure in flight, you can actually switch all of your avionics off and still run this on the battery for a nice period of time while you're in flight. And the plane comes with all detailed manuals necessary to operate all of these units. Now, one of the most important upgrades on the Cessna Cardinal is actually the primary digital engine monitor. And even though it's called a digital or engine monitor, it's actually much more than that. It monitors almost every single important function you need to know while you're in flight with this plane. Having one of these installed is so useful. The primary engine monitors replace all factory gauges, and that way, I mean, the installation is actually pretty time consuming. It's quite expensive, and you have to actually drain all of the fuel tanks and refill it in incremental stages in order to set the calibrations in order to get this fuel quantity right. And there's a bunch of other things that you need to follow when you're installing this unit. But once it's installed, there's a tremendous value to the plane, because not only does it show you each individual exhaust gas temperature and cylinder head temperature, it also gives you the RPM and the manifold pressure. You have your oil temperature, your oil pressure, and fuel pressure, which you don't find a lot of times in other ones. It's also going to give you your volts and your amps in one spot. It gives you your outside air temperature as well as your carb temperature to help watch for carb icing. And then fuel quantities for both the left and the right tank, along with fuel flow. So when you look at all of the information displayed on here, because it has the outside air temperature with the manifold pressure and the RPM, you actually get a percentage horsepower. So it's really nice to know that percentage horsepower that you're flying at, so you stay below the detonation margins. And even though the operator handbook shows you what power settings you should run at different altitudes, it's not a simple way to calculate the power because it depends on a number of factors, including that outside air temperature. So all this additional information is stuff you want to have in any Cardinal, because with the information you're given, it's all really precise. If you look at a factory gauge, you can't tell exactly how much. You might be able to say it's got about half, but you're not really sure. This one tells you exactly how many gallons down to the 10th on each tank that's available in here. And it gives you one cylinder head temperature. Sometimes they don't even have an EGT gauge. This gives you every single cylinder temp. So even on the factory gauge, you know what's going on in one cylinder. You don't know what's going on in the other three. This helps you manage the engine properly and gives you a much better life out of your engine. You can use this to troubleshoot any anomalies, and you take this little plug out and you can put in a USB in here, and you can download the data and send it in to anybody for monitoring and checking if you have any anomalies in flight. It really gives you a peace of mind having something like this installed when you're flying in a plane. And one other important thing about these is that you can set alarms. So you can see the little red levels in here. You can preset some of these, and it's going to give you a flash on here when you go into that alarm setting. Between the fuel alarms, the cylinder head temperature is getting too high. If there's any parameter that's out of range, it's going to flash, which is very helpful because you don't always scan every gauge all the time. That pops right up. But beyond that available here, if you look on the other side of the panel, we have another little LED display up here, and this tells you your RPM and your manifold pressure during normal flight. But if you were to have an emergency thing come up, any kind of alarm that reaches any of the limits that you preset, this is going to flash your alarm right in front of the pilot so that it's going to get your attention right away so that you can take care of that issue at any point. Now, obviously, any of these items are a bit expensive to install, but they are some of the best things that you can install in a plane. This primary monitor, because of the reworking of the panel, can easily cost $13,000 to $14,000 to do the full installation. And when you look at all of the upgrades that have been done on it, all of the Garmin units that are installed, this entire panel can easily cost anywhere from $40,000 to $42,000 to do a full installation like this. So let's go ahead and get ready to start it. So I'm going to push the mixture in, do 1.5 primes on it. Make sure our throttle is cracked. The Cardinal can take off from very short runways with a takeoff ground roll of only 750 feet. The climb rate on a Cardinal is upwards of 840 feet per minute at full gross weight. Overall, the Cardinal is a spacious, very stable plane with the best visibility and comfort available. It's a very easy plane to fly. One of the things with the Cardinal is just how light the controls are on it. You don't have to have hardly any grip on it. Just with the fingertips you can easily bank it, get a nice standard coordinated turn. We climbed with the plane all the way up to 10,000 feet, which is actually 11,500 feet with a density altitude. The Cardinal service ceiling is at 14,600 feet with full gross weight. And the plane has a good continuous climb performance. I really like having that primary engine monitor because we could monitor the engine precisely with the engine monitor during that climb. This newer model propeller on this Cardinal can actually operate at 2,700 RPM continuously at 10,000 feet, which allows you to maintain 75% horsepower at 10,000 feet and have 130 knots of cruise speed. The descent down from 10,000 feet was also very smooth. Even though you can't shock cool these Lycoming engines, we reduced the power gradually during our descent in order to manage our speed. This plane is very stable on approach, and that makes it easy when flying any approach. The great visibility of the Cardinal helps a lot as well. It's best to practice and then remember the power settings that you use. This way you don't have to do a lot of power changes on most approaches. And you should always trim the plane for the approach. You can easily land using any flap settings from 0 to 30 degrees. Your approach should be about 70 to 80 knots without flaps and about 60 to 70 knots with flaps. The Cardinal can land really nicely. They do have more elevator authority than a 172, so you should avoid abrupt inputs to the yoke. And you can always carry just a little power on the touchdown to help as well. The Cessna Cardinal only needs 600 feet for its landing roll, so you can easily land on short runways with the plane. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video today. As always, we ask that you like our video, subscribe to our channel, and if you've got any questions or comments, feel free to drop them below so that we can go ahead and get those answered for you.